Hi, so today I'm going to talk about the way of my own thinking. So, um, this is uh, a description of how I reached up to this point of having faith with mental symmetry, and it is kind of related to my blog. So, um, we as humans go into different type of stages as we go, like I go like as a child. I start with some raw experiences, and I really am not able to correlate much of what is happening around me, and you're starting to have some type of consciousness, able to have your own type of character, of making, your own choices once you start going to school. Uh, I mean, your character is, you have like uh, more volition, or you have like uh, more ways to manipulate the stuff. So you have a sense of more freedom uh, when you are able uh, uh, to make things sense out of the world. But the problem is that we still focus a lot on concrete experiences, on the subjective part. Go to something objective like science and other stuff, and you have science with theoretical theories, and uh, they touch on the topic of the abstract, and they are, in some sense, have a form of platonic form of attitude on seeing things, and and there is really very strong emotions on those stuff, like on Thomas Kuhn's Scientific Revolutions. The book really describes how people become very emotional on their beliefs. Uh, and then there is another emotion, which is concrete experiences, and we think that the subjective part is only by concrete experiences, but here I'm trying to say that it is not, that it can also be applied in a theoretical way, and a lot of the philosophies of our works have done that very well, like Immanuel Kant's categorical imperative, and but some others we did, they were total failures that reached to tra- tragic dead ends on our humanity, and even world wars due to that. But that is another topic. But it's more like an introduction to say that uh, maybe we should pay attention something about the subjective part of our own self, and that is kind of the total mission out of this. The whole mission out of this is based on that, on this video that I'm talking, and also my way of thinking. Uh, and I think it is, as Thomas Kuhn have said, it's like a new paradigm. It's like it's a paradigm shift, and some are very small that are fall on the same domain, and this one I think it's one very big, because that's the subjective part, and the subjective part is one very harder to tackle than the objective part, because it represents me. It'll have pain to accept, like maybe there is a better way to do better things in our life, but maybe I don't want to, because I prefer to do the most benefit out of my own self, and this is one of the challenging part, because because then we go to Immanuel Kant's categorical imperative and said, if everybody uh, you know um, you know follows a different paradigm than your own, then it will not work. You cannot see the benefits out of it. So and the point is, when there is a paradigm shift, you cannot see the benefits, and when you try to start on such idea, people will think that you're crazy. Okay, so the point is, like, the computer industry, the way how it exploded, there were a lot of people that when they started, people felt that they were crazy. Maybe they were like witches or something, because they tried to do something with a lot of passion, but nobody could see the results of what they did. It took them like a lot of years and a lot of stages to reach that stage, to gain that recognition. So anybody will go into such path. People will, the only way, I mean, if you have to be passionate, you have to have a good idea that it will work later, but maybe it will not work now. It has to be in the form of a potential candidate to do a paradigm shift. So otherwise, yeah. And now here we have metal symmetry as a contestant. Okay, so the point is, one of the things is about metal symmetry. If somebody really tackles on this, is it really tries to do rational stuff on the subjective, and it is really painful, and it really takes a lot of time, and there's no gimmicks here. We try to do it by comparing different philosophers, different books. There's an effort, okay, and we are doing it, ironically, if you don't guys want to believe it, we do it in a scientific way, okay. And the point is, nobody really wants to debate or argue about it. It's more like we treat it as an apophatic way, and the point is, it requires really a critical thinking not on the objective but on the subjective. It's like, so, and the point here is, like I said, that it's really it's a very troubling challenge for anybody to really tackle on this thing, because I think for current society, they will think that this is a crazy idea. The second part is, it's very challenging and it's very hard. It really requires more a mental effort on objective stuff. Okay, I can just tell. That's why I'm posting this video, my own experiences right here, about my own way of thinking of how I reached here so far. And I have a very high GPA on my grades on my university. I was able to excel on all of them. Those are like objective rational tasks. Also in my job, I also did a lot of stuff smoothly, and that's also completing objective rational tasks. But I still find them a little bit as a challenge, not because they are very hard, but that is not like my total passion as much as the subjective rational thought. And the subjective rational thought, in order to really grasp them and really to reach to that stage where you are motivated to do that stuff, you really need a very high degree of passion, more than you can imagine, because the tasks that you tackle on the subjective rational are, in total amounts, more harder than the objective rational tasks that require the least action to create new products that help society, but not on the subjective part. So I just say that it needs deliberate practice. It needs a regular exercise on that, and it requires, because it really uses a lot of your stamina on your brain. It's not a thing that you can really tackle it in a day or two. You have to take this more like, when you read this more like the albatross. It's one of the biggest challenges. It's more like reading one of those weird languages, or I don't know, not sure. I think you get my point. So that's like, a forewarning, a warning about, about if you try to dive in the journey of mental symmetry, and then you know why it really doesn't work out. So I started this journey like 10 years ago, and how I want to describe it is, I just read it, I skimmed it. Oh, okay, yeah. So how I would go with mental symmetry, like how I would look, if how I looked at it, my own way of thinking. Maybe there are other paths, but I can just say you to tell you how to think about it. One of the chapters that are very good there on the Natural Cognitive Theology book of Loren Fersen is, chapter 5, education, and most likely that's the, the path that you have to do. You have to do rote learning, memorize stuff, then correlate it, and then you have confidence on that. So I think that's one of the paths in order to get faith. Loren Fersen correlated with the Bible. You don't need to correlate it until you have faith on it. So you have to take it independently, regardless if it's on the Bible or not, whether the religion. And why should we put the emphasis on the Bible? Well, we say, what if, okay? What if this is a simulation, and our goal is to reach on our ultimate state of the machine. We are subjects of a machine learning, let's say, and our ultimate state is to be the best character that complements harmoniously on the whole system that we live in this system. And probably that could have been done by our own self alone, or there is some guide, like for us, to reach that goal. And the point is, if I created, an artificial intelligence, a machine, and that artificial intelligence has to go through machine learning to reach its ultimate state. What should its focus be? To focus upon me, the creator, or should it be the focus on how this computer works inside, so it can reach to its ultimate state? What I would want it for that artificial intelligence to do? The latter part, right? Focus on the machine. And maybe I also give a guide there, like a book. And that's what Loren Fersen implicates, is that the Bible is something like the guide of that. And that is and nothing else that we're trying to do here. Nothing else. So, and the point here is, so I said again, rote learning, evaluate facts, and then have faith. Okay, that's one of the paths. Well, that's actually the best path. I don't know if there's any other, but you do that, then then what it becomes right now is like you have ideas. Okay, like in the objective realm, we have ideas. Few people agree on those ideas. They create a startup. Then they become the founders. They have a strong passion. But in the real world, in the real external world, this idea has doubts, right? Whether it will really work or not. It's like a startup idea, which it can fail or it can succeed. Okay, so in the same vein here, you have to create deeds, actions that resemble on that idea, and if the results are positive instead of negative, then the startup idea becomes a big conglomerate nation almost. Okay, so that is the concept of the second part. So yeah, my first part is faith, but the second part is also creating deeds that resemble, that this can reflect to the whole world. Yeah. So, and based on that, I want to say that I used to read the book of Loren Fersen, like, I don't know, 3-4 years ago. I just read some part up to a point, and then I stopped. I didn't read all of it. Okay, the mind really has doubts. Okay, so what you do is try to correlate evidence, and then have faith. In order to have faith, you have to correlate evidence by other sources of books and see if it matches. And if it matches, and also based on your experiences, they both match, then you have faith on it, because you do it not by something shallow, fluffy, out of because somebody else said it, but because you tried it by your own effort to evaluate whether it is true or not. And now I'm reading the new book again. Okay, I haven't read the whole book. It's a very big book, but this time when I'm reading it, I'm really confident that this book has the truth instead of having doubts about it. And the point is, we have very limited time in our life, so there's up to a point where we have confidence on something, and the author, you have to trust in some sense the author in some sense. And also I know from the background of the author of how he does things, he doesn't look for pride. He looks at things to do his own research, for seeking the truth and nothing else. He doesn't has a methodology that he embraces, and that is like one of the great things, that it is they can always make mistakes, but that path will is more accurate than someone else that follows a methodology, and that's why I trust this author. And after that, I read the whole book. What I really want is to officially graduate from critical thinking on the subjective parts, because we as people, we don't our college degree or university degree only graduates us on the objective stuff in most cases, and not on the subjective stuff. So this is like a really graduation that we all should do in some sense or part, and then do related actions correlated to mental symmetry that help our world. One of the ideas was create the idea of the social network, but I created the prototype of the social network. The other thing is maybe just create a course, that analyzes some of the topics in the context of social network and other products. So then then they can be as it's creating insights, so they can be used for making it more richer products. I think the only way, like all the great stuff that we create, is based by learning. We create a community where then other people are interested, and then it grows and it grows. I think we should have to follow that pattern as well for this. And so what I can only talk is about only the first part, because that is my part of my journey. I'm a use case here. I'm maybe like the guinea pig. That's why I posted all the blog posts, so everybody knows how my way of thinking has reached up to this point. So, and also it is the average person's most like the average person of trying to learn mental symmetry, while it has different other struggles in his life, like work-life balance, and then you have relationships, and then you have other stuff. Maybe you don't have sometimes clear mind because of some minor health issues over time, and so on and so on. So the first point I want to say is, I started this as a teenager. I read it. I skimmed it a little bit, and then after some experiences in my workplace, I was able to analyze mental symmetry. So I always, up to maybe 4 to 5 years, I used to just study and say, yeah, that follows a pattern with mental symmetry. And but that really doesn't leaps to the next step of having faith in it just by being idle. So analyzing is kind of important of your own experiences. And the second part is also correlating other sources to this theory, and if they match, then you have more faith on it. And the books like Black Box Thinking, Executive Paradox, Revolutionary Feedbacks, and even I skimmed a little bit of Clean Language, and they all resemble most part of mental symmetry. So the biggest challenge, I think, is how to go from point A to point B, and that like I said, one of it requires a lot of hard work, determination. It's not an easy thing to do, as I said in the introduction. It's really like a sport where you have to exercise your body and then try to do some practice matches, and then you will be more confident to play the real games of the world. And the same here, the mental brain. It's not only about practicing the brain to gain the correct cognitive ability to do things fast, but also have a strategy that can match, adapt to our subjective mind. And most of it is only limited to the objective mind. The full game is also the subjective mind, people. Okay, so so I said, like, one is try to put it in your brain and say, oh, there's patterns. Then you try to analyze it by experiences and then correlating with sources that match with mental symmetry, and then you gain more faith. And how I came to that conclusion? Well, the author actually did the same thing, okay? So he had some old articles, like on his young age, he used to write articles analyzing some subjects. So I did the same. Then he also tried in his last years to correlate with other sources of books. I did the same. And I saw him over the years that he improved his theory, that he had more faith on it, and I got also the same results out of it. So that's I think the strategy. So what I really recommend is look at mental symmetry only by the cognitive modules first. Understand how its cognitive module works. The other thing is, maybe you can look at it at a personality level, but I think mental symmetry, the whole purpose is not about personality level as much as how it can integrate into the way of our thinking on all aspects of things as a theory, and that is like how a strategy of how a machine learner works, and so on and so on. Personality exists, of course. We have created a lot of theories about personality, so then cognitive mental symmetry must resemble in some way that each person has a specific personality. The other thing is also different sexes have a lot of research have shown that that they act the way they act is different to get the same results. Like the mind operates in a different way to get the same results. So then we can say that some part of the cognitive modules are more active on one gender than the other, and we have seen that anatomically, physically, that some of the brain regions are bigger than the others. So this is purely math, and we just have to try to investigate and understand that instead of being in denial about it. Okay, and like I said, there's a lot of challenges to it. Like black box thinking describes, and people do not want to tackle on the subjective part. So here I talked about cognitive modules. Just really focus on those. Try to understand how each one works. Try to understand the strategy of how a plan is worked out. Okay, it really takes a lot of time to grasp those. The next thing is get other concepts that describes mental symmetry, like mental networks. Then also the correct strategy of doing things, like teacher mental networks are more important than mercy mental networks, and that requires a lot of initiative. If you don't have initiative, then and you don't have a sense of we want to investigate or have critical thinking, then you lose the battle immediately. And only people, and I know that this is a paradigm with crazy ideas. It's like we can say like Steve Jobs, where he had so much passion about that new computer that everybody want to dismiss it. And here we are again on the subjective part. This is a new domain, and people will just reject it. But here I am. I have passion. I think others have passion, and I think uh, I think if people understand the way of thinking of it and they experience it, uh, of course, it will contradict with current society. But if it has good, lasting benefits, like other philosophical works and so on, then the point is, people are afraid. They don't know whether this will be good or this is bad. But it will be either one of those two. It may have chances that it is not bad, and I always want to peer review with others or collaborate, and make arguments about it, and to discuss about it, whether this will be positive or negative. And I have hopes, all of it is, to be positive, and at the same time, it is something that the nice thing about critical thinking is it's a thing that we choose on our own selves. I'm not going to force others. It is a thing to contemplate and think of, the way of thinking, and it's more like a startup idea. And if we're not ready there yet, maybe we have to think other steps to reach where we can be ready for it. So thanks for watching, and that was about how the way of thinking I have reached up to have faith on mental symmetry, and I wanted really to discuss about that, and I hope it's more comprehensible. Thanks for watching.